Welcome back to A View to a Grill. I'm Johnny. Today we're going to be using the Snake River Farms fajita slices to make these incredible Wagyu sheet pan nachos, and we're going to do it all on the Golden's cast iron Kamado. The first thing we're going to need to do is prepare our ingredients. To get a closer look, check out all of that internal marbling on these fajita slices. I'll be using a sheet pan with the grate. And what that's going to do is allow the fajita juices to drain into the pan. Once I have them on that grid, I'm just going to spread them out evenly. And then I'll use a paper napkin to pat off the excess moisture. Today I'll be using the Fiesta brand of fajita seasoning. And then I will generously apply the seasoning over the meat. And then when I was done, you can see that I put a lot of seasoning on there, and that's because we want these fajita pieces to pop against all the other ingredients that we'll be using. So I have these seasoned up, and some of the moisture has dripped out into the pan. Now I'll be adding them to a bowl for our marinade. For our marinade, all we're using is a 1/4 cup of lime juice. I'll get that poured into the bowl and then gently massage that lime juice right into the meat. When I'm done, I can then put the lid on, and then we're going to let this marinate in the refrigerator for about 2 to 4 hours. We're also going to need some cheese that easily melts, and I like to use this Oaxaca melting cheese. And just to give you a closer look, you can see me pull this cheese apart, and it kind of looks like string cheese, but it's a lot softer. I'll just get this grated in a bowl and go ahead and set that in the refrigerator. Now that the ingredients are prepped, we can set up the Golden's cast iron Kamado. I'm going to be using the sear plate as a flat top to cook these fajita slices, so I won't be needing the divider plate. There's a little bit of charcoal at the bottom from our last cook, and we're going to leave that in there. I also have a little bit of charcoal left over from my slow and sear, and I'm going to throw that in there as well. The fajitas have been in the refrigerator for about 2.5 hours now, so let's go ahead and start our fire. Today I'll be using a full chimney starter of briquettes. Once those briquettes have ashed over, I can then get them into the Golden's cast iron Kamado. I'll spread that around for even heat distribution. We'll brush off any of the ash that settled on the rim of the firebox. I'll then get the lid closed for about 10 to 15 minutes and do a little bit of preheating. I'll make sure that the top and bottom vents are open. Then 10 to 15 minutes later, we have a beautiful roaring fire. Now I can get my sear plate on, then we'll spray it with a little bit of avocado oil and then wipe off any excess oil. So we have our sear plate down, and now it is time to start our fajita cook. The sear plate has been on for about 5 minutes, and we're at about 240-ish degrees. I want this sear plate to be over 450 degrees before I start to sear off the fajitas. While we're letting the sear plate come up to temp, I'm going to get the fajita meat, put it in a strainer over a bowl so that some of the excess liquids can drain off. 5 or 10 minutes later, we'll check our heat, and we are well above the 450 degree minimum that I wanted to be. Now I can get our fajita meat down, and then I'm just going to use a spatula to start spreading the fajita meat around the entire sear plate. The goal of this exercise is to get as much protein on metal as I possibly can to get the best sear. And then once you have all of your fajita meat touching as much metal as possible, we're just going to let it sit there and let that hot metal get some nice color on our fajita meat. Now, if you like your fajita meat well seasoned like I do, at this time you can add another layer of fajita seasoning. The fajitas have been going for 6 to 8 minutes. Now let's flip and check on our color development. So we've got this flipped over and it's looking pretty good. And then we want to go through that same routine that we used when we put the fajitas down. We want to spread everything out so that we can get as many of the fajita pieces touching bare metal as possible for the best sear. This time we're going to leave them on for 2 to 3 minutes. and then remove them and set them on a plate. While those fajitas are on a plate and resting, it's a good time to clean up that sear plate. I'm also going to take this time to set up the grill grates so that we can melt our cheese later. Close the lid and let those grates start to preheat. While the Golden's cast iron is preheating again, let's start building our sheet pan nachos. For the nacho condiments, I have some red salsa, some pico de gallo, and some tomatillo salsa. I like to keep these in bowls and let people take what they want at serving time in order to keep the chips from getting mushy. I'll be using the HEB brand of sea salted tortilla chips, and I also have that bowl of cheese that we grated earlier, and the star of this show, our Wagyu fajita slices. On the sheet pan, we're just going to start layering our ingredients. I started off with a layer of chips, and then we went with some grated cheese. Then we add a couple of handfuls of our fajita slices. Then we're going to go with some more cheese, and you get the picture. The thing is you want to layer these so you have a bit of each ingredient in every bite. Now I had a late addition. I decided to use some red bell pepper slices for a nice little sweet, fresh crunch. And now that we have all of our ingredients on, we're going to remove the little condiment bowls, and then we're going to finish these nachos up, and we're going to have a taste test. So I removed the condiment bowls, and the only reason why they were on that tray at that time were as placeholders. I'm going to take the entire tray and set it on the Kamado. It's really great to do this because after about 10 minutes, your tortilla chips are going to be still crispy and warm, and the melting cheese is going to have this nice stretchy melt. Now we'll get our condiment bowls back in and finish this off with some fresh cilantro leaves. And then there you have it. Beautiful sheet pan nachos. And we have this incredible salsa verde and salsa rojo and some pico de gallo. For the salsa recipes, check out the link in the card above. There's a little top view, and yes, they look fantastic. Now I'm just going to grab one chip and put some salsa on there and give them a little taste, but you already knew these nachos are delicious. And then here's what my stack of nachos look like on the finest paper plates available. That looks pretty good. Now if you haven't already subscribed to View to a Grill, go ahead, do that now. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, y'all.